Our next team, S1, deals with antimicrobial resistance, the Trojan horse of modern healthcare. Let's welcome Team S1.
That is because this infection is caused by a drug-resistant organism, making it harder for us to treat it. You must have learned about this in microbiology, right?
No sir, I only have a basic idea.
Don't worry, we'll explain.
Antimicrobial resistance is the phenomenon when microbes change over time and no longer respond to infections, making infections harder to treat and increase the spread and severity.
According to Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest, every population has built-in variations such as resistance genes in microbes which help these resistant organisms survive the selection pressure while the drug-sensitive organisms perish. These resistant ones spread vigorously and wreak havoc.
The main factors responsible for increased AMR are overuse and misuse of antimicrobials, lack of water and sanitary hygiene, lack of knowledge and legal measures against AMR.
Does AMR occur only in humans? No. Antibiotics are being given excessively to livestock to prevent infections and enhance production, resulting in increased incidence and subsequent transfer of AMR to animals and humans higher up the food chain. Excretion of unmetabolized drugs into water bodies is an important hidden reservoir for resistant organisms.
With the emergence of new drug-resistant pathogens and spread of superbugs, treating even the commonest of infection has become increasingly challenging. Out of 32 newer applications for antibiotics in 2019, only 6 were deemed innovative and approved by WHO.
While organisms are acquiring resistance at an exponential rate, we have fallen way behind in developing new drugs to treat them.
In 2019, malaria has caused 640,000 deaths, AIDS has caused 860,000 deaths, whereas AMR alone was responsible for 1.27 million deaths. In fact, AMR is expected to claim 10 million lives per year by 2050.
When we talk about our country, India is currently referred to as the AMR capital of the world despite various measures taken by the government to lessen the burden of AMR. Other than enterobacterials, MDR and XDR tuberculosis pose a significant threat in India. Hence, AMR is the Trojan horse of modern healthcare.
Moving on to our study, most ICMR reports contain data on metropolitan cities. Hence, to understand the burden of AMR in our community, we decided to conduct a cross-sectional survey for the first time in Kakinada on bacterial antimicrobial resistance.
Our aim was to quantify the burden of bacterial AMR in Kakinada and analyze the spectrum of resistant isolates to suggest possible modes of prevention.
So, we approached 5 hospitals in Kakinada to acquire data on AMR from May to July 2022, out of which only 3 approved. We first took the IEC approval and then got consent from heads of the hospital to undertake this project.
We have included patients of all ages admitted in hospital with clinical features suggestive of infection. Our exclusion criteria comprised of patients suggestive of non-infectious etiologies. We have also excluded subjects indicative of viral, fungal and parasitic infections. Eventually ended up with a total of 4,118 samples.
What was the data we collected? You might ask.
So every time a sample was received at the hospital, gram staining was performed to broadly classify the organisms as gram-positive and gram-negative.
Then samples such as blood, sputum, urine and pus were inoculated onto nutrient agar, meconic agar and blood agar. Additionally, samples like CSF were inoculated onto chocolate agar.
Culture plates were then incubated and colony morphology was studied with subsequent biochemical reactions, facilitating identification of organisms.
Antibiotic susceptibility testing in the government hospital of our study was carried out using Kirby-Bor distribution technique, wherein an inoculum is flow cultured onto Muller-Hinton agar. The antibiotic discs are placed on it to study zones of inhibition and determine resistance. In private hospitals, AST was carried out using automated Pytech systems.
Copies of these results are usually retained by hospitals but are largely unorganized. So we took on the challenge, sorted out the useful data and analyzed it to make observations.
We received a total of 4,118 samples, out of which 1,606 samples were culture positive. These samples included urine, pus and wound swabs, blood, sputum and ET aspirates, and other fluids like CSF, pleural and pericardial fluids.
Klebsiella was the most common isolate, showing 719 positives ended with 1 in 2 positivity, followed by E. coli with 20% and Pseudomonas with 19% positivity.
The rest of the isolates included Enterobacter, Acinetobacter, Citrobacter, Proteus, Cons, Streptococcus, Staphylococcus aureus, etc.
Only 48% of the organisms from our isolate show drug sensitivity, rest all were drug resistant. Amongst them, 39% were Klebsiella, 30% E. coli, 17% Pseudomonas, and the rest were mainly MRSA.
Moving on to the various mechanisms of drug resistance, 7 out of 10 were extended spectrum beta-lactamase or ESBL proteases. A staggering 27% were multi-drug resistant organisms and carbapenem-resistant enterobacteriates. Modified penicillin binding protein PBP was also a considerable risk in case of penicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus or MRSA infections.
The 71% ESBL production seen was an example of a resistant mechanism through enzyme beta-lactamase production, which hinders the activity of beta-lactams like penicillins, cephalosporins, and monobactams. The next most common entity was multi-drug resistance, which can be acquired through carbapenemase production, efflux pumps, and porin mutations.
Efflux pumps facilitate efflux of drugs like tetracycline and chloranthanilicols from the organisms, while carbapenemase enzymes confer resistance to carbapenemase.
The PBP mechanism observed in MRSA strains in our study is due to modification of penicillin binding protein PBP, converting it into PBP2A, preventing the action of penicillin. Resistance can also be passed on via transformation, transduction, and conjugation.
This study sheds light on the burden of infections caused by drug-resistant organisms in Kakinada, a place wherein such prevalence studies on antimicrobial resistance have not been published before.
The findings of this study help provide information regarding various modes of acquiring AMR infection.
This can strengthen stewardship interventions in tertiary care centers in Kakinada.
Multi-drug resistant organisms pose various newer diagnostic and therapeutic challenges, while India continues to combat the older enemies like tuberculosis.
Factors such as improper adherence to treatment or incomplete treatment, lack of hygiene, poverty, illiteracy, overcrowding, and malnutrition further compound this situation.
Lack of AMR data impedes governmental efforts and legal implementation to control AMR.
A drug-resistant infection confers huge pressure on patient and family due to costs associated with prolonged hospital admissions. The World Bank has stated that the annual financial burden would be over $100 trillion by 2050 and stated that AMR can be the reason for widening the gap between developed and developing countries.
The key components of WHO Global Action Plan to prevent AMR include improving awareness and knowledge of AMR through surveillance and research,
Improving hygiene and access to healthcare,
rational use of medicines, and sustainable investment in newer medicines and vaccines.
moving on to antimicrobial stewardship.
It is a coordinated program that aims to promote rational use of antimicrobials, improves the outcomes, and reduces development of resistance.
It includes a prospective audit, antibiotic cycling, and supplemental strategies such as education, combination therapy, analysis, etc.
when the microbiology culture susceptibility results are long awaited, hospital antibiograms suggest the most appropriate empirical treatment. Hence, stewardship is life-saving.
Stewardship also helps in monitoring AMR trends and also contributes to national AMR surveillance.
Nowadays, hospital infection control committees have been set up by institutions which aim at providing better and safer healthcare facilities for patients.
The core responsibility of HICC is strengthening antimicrobial stewardship. These are our references.
Hence, giving the right drug to the right patient in the right dose at the right time and in the right route is the need of the hour and is of utmost importance. Finally, I'd like to conclude with a quote by a former CDC director. If we use antimicrobials and antibiotics when not needed, we may not have them when most needed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah. Congratulations. You've done very well. The presentation was crisp, to the point, and I definitely loved it because it being my subject. And you have shown all the slides in a proper order. The editing was done perfectly. And I really hope whatever you have put on the slide, you have really understood it and dealt with it in depth. Because I don't want to ask any further questions. It was done very well. Very good.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So again, I echo Martin's thoughts. Wonderful, very relevant topic. Congratulations to the team. So one thing is, what do you think is the barrier to this whole concept? See, government is doing so many things, but still it's not happening. What do you feel in your center, in a government sector, what do you feel is the major barrier? And how do you overcome that?
Ma'am, actually I'd like to discuss two things here. So firstly, the current scenario is like we're winning the battle, but we're losing the war. We're treating the infection, but we're not treating the patient. Ultimately, organisms are developing resistance. We are losing the ultimate war even though we're winning the battle. Moving on to the question that you asked, ma'am, we actually talked to a lot of our faculty members regarding this and also did a literature review on PubMed and Meta and Embase search engines. We found out that, let's say this as a hypothetical example, ma'am, if there is one factory in India which is like say only responsible for synthesizing all the ceftriaxone in the country and it's synthesizing 100 million tons of ceftriaxone per year, 70 million tons are not being purchased for human use. They're being purchased for poultry. And even though there are rules regarding how much antimicrobials should be given to poultry, the problem is that the disposal of these animals, once they've already acquired resistance, is not being done properly. They're supposed to be incinerated so that these organisms also die with the animal. But they're being dumped into water bodies and that is spreading AMR. That is the root cause of AMR spread. So awareness regarding the disposal of animals needs to be generated. And the second aspect is in our government setup, as you have asked, ma'am, the main problem is lack of integration between various departments and also overburdening of the departments with conventional works, ma'am. So when we decided to conduct this study, we approached 5 hospitals, ma'am. Only 3 were willing to share the data with us, and all 3 hospitals, including our own graduate college, made sure that we couldn't actually access the records without them being present in front of us. They wanted to maintain the anonymity, and we could not generate Excel sheets. And we saw that we had to resort to the manual tally marks method for all the 4,000 samples. So that was very hectic for us. We need to digitalize it, ma'am, and we discussed this with our microbiology faculty. They agreed that they're going to start Google Forms for the records, not just the manual records, so that it will be easier to perform statistics on that and continue with antimicrobial stewardship, ma'am. Because in theory, everybody knows about this, but most people are ignorant, some people are concerned, and very few people are acting on it.
And I think in India nothing happens unless it's mandated by government.
Yes.
So you should be punished for writing a wrong antibiotic, and the microbiologists should have all the culture sensitivity tests at their disposal. Because what would the micro department do if the tests we asked for, or if the organism sensitivity patterns we asked for, the tests are not there? So they have only an antibiotic, they would report that. So I think this topic should be taken up seriously, and I think it's a very relevant topic. Congratulations.
Ma'am, actually regarding the governments have been working on national plans and global plans for combating AMR. So these include TAFTA, which is the Transatlantic Task Force for Antimicrobial Resistance. This was started in 2017 and it has come into action in 2019. Then we have GLAS, which is a Global Action Plan for Antimicrobial Stewardship. And in India, ICMR also has started an initiative, ma'am, but in a recent study, the data was taken only from 30 hospitals, that too all of them were located only in metropolitan cities. So the average AMR prevalence put forth in that study was approximately 60%, ma'am. But in our study, we got a prevalence of approximately 52%, ma'am. So
I'm saying the things are in place, but unless in India we mandate it, some collective are not sticking to the policy, nothing works. So that's my opinion.
Yes.
A strong hospital infection control committee and a strong antimicrobial stewardship program. These two only will help continuing of this year.
Yes. Thank you.
So very good and excellent presentation. You have coordinated your research as well as your AB, everything was in sync. So excellent presentation, and you, as madam also told, please carry forward so that this is not does not stop here in your hospital, in your city. Try to take it up with the higher ups so that this becomes some meaningful and it will have an implication on the public. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir.